So you've heard all the crazy Etsy success stories and love the idea of selling your own designs online, but maybe wonder, is Etsy really as lucrative as they say, right? Has Etsy changed or gone downhill at all in the past few years? And that's exactly what we're going to be chatting about today. Is Etsy worth it in 2022? I'm going over what I think are the top pros and cons for selling on Etsy this year coming up. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kate. I'm a wife, mom to 3 awesome kiddos, Etsy seller, and business coach, and I'm here to help you start and scale your online business so that you can make a full-time income doing what you love. I've been a seller on Etsy since 2015, and I've witnessed firsthand over the years the changes that Etsy has gone through, both good and bad. Some of these changes have really benefited Etsy sellers and others not so much. So if you're thinking about diving in and opening up an Etsy shop, I want to help you by giving you my top 4 pros and my top 4 cons for selling on Etsy this year. And hopefully it can help you to know if Etsy is the right fit for you. I'm also excited to show you a bit about an amazing tool for online sellers, Tailor Brands, more on them coming up later in the video. So let's go ahead and start with the pros. These are the top 4 benefits, in my opinion, to selling on Etsy this year. Pro number 1 is Etsy's tremendous growth over the past 3 years. In 2019, Etsy had 46.3 million shoppers on the platform. Compare that to 2021, where Etsy ended up with 96.3 million shoppers on the platform, doubling what it was 2 years prior. The Etsy platform pretty much skyrocketed a few years ago when it became more of a household name. Etsy doubled down on their marketing efforts, so they started advertising a lot more through TV ads, through offsite ads on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms, and really expanding their reach, so a lot more people came to shop on Etsy and it became very well known. Obviously, this is a pro for Etsy sellers because more shoppers on the platform equals more opportunities for sales for your shop. Having access to Etsy's large, organic, built-in audience really gives sellers a jumpstart in the beginning, as opposed to owning your own website and running your shop through your own separate website, where you would have to really put forth a lot more effort to drive all of the traffic to your website. There are already shoppers on the Etsy platform looking for exactly what you have to offer, so this is a huge pro in using a marketplace when you start selling. Pro number 2 goes along with this, and that is that Etsy is well known and trusted by customers. Etsy has a really loyal following of shoppers who go there for everything they need to purchase, whether it be a gift, home decor, anything. There are people who only exclusively shop on Etsy, and they may not know your shop, but they go to Etsy because they trust the platform. There's a focus on quality of products on Etsy that may not be really apparent in other marketplaces. Now, of course, every marketplace will have some shops and listings that slip through the cracks that are not great quality, but in general, Etsy is known for really quality products and shops. Etsy is now considered very established, proven, and spoken well of by the majority of shoppers. Etsy also backs up their shoppers, so there is a way for a shopper to make a case against a shop if, say, their item was never shipped or it wasn't as described and the seller is refusing to work with them. They can actually make a case, and Etsy is really good about backing up their shoppers, so this makes shoppers feel safe. Now, as a seller, you might be thinking, well, that's not really a good thing for me. I don't want cases open up against me, but trust me, it's a good thing for your shoppers that are going to the Etsy platform to feel confident in purchasing on that platform because of the way Etsy handles cases. You won't have a case opened up against you if you do everything within your power to do it correctly, to be shipping things on time, to be responding to customers, so you don't really need to worry about that from a seller's perspective if you're doing everything you need to do. It's a good thing for shoppers to feel safe purchasing on that platform. Another thing that helps shoppers to feel really confident in Etsy as a platform overall is that there's a lot more professionalism and legitimate businesses coming onto Etsy than there maybe used to be. The increase in the professionalism of shops helps the Etsy platform to really be competitive when it comes to the marketplace space when they go up against competitors like Amazon and eBay. All right, moving on to pro number 3, and that is that there are more tools available than ever before to help Etsy sellers. When starting a business, there's so much to think about, from SEO to photography to product design to branding to social media marketing. The list just goes on and on. It can feel really overwhelming as a beginner to think that you're having to build all of this from the ground up. Thankfully, over the years, there have been so many tools and online web resources developed for the purpose of helping online sellers so you don't actually have to start from scratch with everything. For designing, there are things like Placeit, Canva, Creative Market, Creative Fabrica, and a lot of others, and tools like Sales Samurai and Everbee for Etsy product research and keyword research. There are also great tools for establishing your business and your branding. A really great resource for this is Tailor Brands. Tailor Brands has everything you need to jumpstart your business. They seriously make it so easy to look like a pro from day one. First, start with creating a logo. Use your brand colors, fonts, and make it exactly how you want it. Next, check to see if the domain name you want is available and purchase it to up the professionalism of your website. Speaking of a website, use Tailor Brands Website Builder to get your site up and running in no time. Don't forget to create your digital business card to legitimize your business even more. And get this, you also have merch options. Who doesn't love a great t-shirt or some stickers with your logo on them? You can even register your business as an LLC. And you're done. You're ready to launch your new business and stand out from the crowd. Tailor Brands has graciously offered 30% off just for our viewers, so make sure to click the link in the description box below and use the code KATEHAYES30 to try it out. So having all these resources available to you makes selling on Etsy easier than ever before and takes the guesswork out of building a business from scratch. And our last pro is having the opportunity to advertise directly on the platform. So here I'm talking about Etsy ads. I've been asked several times if I would recommend Etsy ads or advertising with something like Facebook boosting or something on Instagram or a social media platform. My personal opinion to this is I would always rather use Etsy ads as opposed to advertising on a different website or platform because your shoppers are already there and you're taking out that extra step of them having to click through over to your shop on Etsy. Shoppers are already coming to Etsy and searching for what they want, so you putting an Etsy ad and boosting it to the top is a great way to get your product in front of a really warm audience that's already looking for your product. In my experience, Etsy ads have worked way better over the years than times I've tried to boost my posts on Facebook or things like that. I love how easy to set up and manage Etsy ads are. You can turn them on or off at any time. You can change your budget per day. You can see what's working and what's not and make changes according to that because it gives you some really detailed analytics to work from. You can also select which listings you want to promote and which ones you don't. So it's just really great. It's really customizable and you can try it out and see what works for your listings and for your shop. Okay, we're about to move on to our cons section, but before we do, if you're finding this video helpful, will you hit that thumbs up button for me and also consider subscribing to our channel? We put out new videos each and every week to help you on your small business journey. All right, so although I love Etsy and there are so many great things about selling on Etsy, there are some challenges and some cons. Con number one for selling on Etsy this year is that the competition is higher than ever. Now, when I say competition, I'm talking about two different things. I'm talking about number one, number of shops, and number two, professionalism. Let's talk about number one, the number of shops. So of course, we already talked about how Etsy has skyrocketed over the last few years, and the number of shoppers has more than doubled since 2019. Though this is a great thing for sellers, it's also hard because that means the number of sellers and shops has also increased, which gives us more competition and more of a saturated market to try to break through. But I'm not only talking about the number of shops, but I'm talking also about competing in terms of professionalism of your shops and your listings. There are so many businesses on Etsy now that are really legitimate, really established, and really professional looking. It no longer works to just get on Etsy and throw up some mediocre photos of your handmade items. Your photos really have to compete with the top selling listings in your niche. One thing I'd encourage you to do if you're serious about selling on Etsy is to go onto the Etsy search and type in a keyword phrase that applies to your niche and something you might be using and look at what the top selling listings, the one that have the little bestseller badge are. Look at the style of photos and look at how professional they look. I'm willing to bet they look top notch. The way to break through the saturation of the market is to have really quality photos. Now, this doesn't mean you have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to hire a professional photographer, but it does mean if you're doing your own photography, you do need to really put in some time and effort and research to figure out some photography techniques that will help you get photos that can compete with those top bestsellers. Now, I know this can sound intimidating. I don't want you to be scared away by this because though it is harder to break through in certain niches, it's definitely not impossible. And there are things that you can do proactively to make it happen. I actually have a whole video all about breaking through in a saturated market. So if you're interested in watching that, I'll link it at the end of this video. All right, con number 2 to selling on Etsy is that you don't own the platform. And because you don't own the Etsy platform, you technically don't really even own your own shop. Etsy can shut your shop down at any time, as opposed to operating on your own website, which you own and you have full control over. I have heard stories of shops that have grown and built over time, and this was their livelihood, and for some reason or another, Etsy ended up shutting their shop down and closing it, and they lost complete access to it. This is a real thing and a real risk when you decide to sell on Etsy. You go into it knowing that's always a possibility. Now, I will say this is that I found most of the time Etsy has good reason for shutting a shop down and generally won't just shut it down for no reason. I've seen shops that have been shut down before for things that they didn't even realize that they were doing, but it was negligence on their part because they didn't read through the seller handbook and they didn't realize that they were either violating a policy or a copyright issue or something like that. It can also be for a lack of response to customers, for a lack of shipping on time, or for selling prohibited items. Some people don't even know what they are allowed and not allowed to sell on Etsy, and there actually is a very strict list of what you're allowed to sell and what things are prohibited. So if you're in question about that at all, I would definitely check out the seller handbook. There's a whole list of what you can sell and what you can't sell on Etsy, so you make sure that if you are going to open a shop, you're not risking getting shut down. All right, con number 3 to selling on Etsy this year is the increased transaction fee. The transaction fee for Etsy sellers used to be 5% per transaction. It has now gone up to 6.5%. Now, I just want to clarify, this is not taking effect until April of 2022. So at the making of this video, it's just coming up to that date where it will become effective. Now, obviously, no one wants a fee increase. No one wants to be paying all these seller fees, but there's really nothing you can do about it because Etsy is providing the platform and all of that organic traffic that we talked about. So that's sort of the trade-off for being able to access what Etsy is helping you with. In my opinion, the seller fees are just a part of the territory, and any marketplace you sell on is going to have some kind of fees. So it's just a matter of when you're deciding your price point, making sure that you're taking the fees and taxes into account and selling your items at a price that provides for enough of a profit margin for you to be able to cover those and still have profit for yourself. And con number 4 for selling on Etsy is that it's harder to build brand recognition. So what I mean by brand recognition is when the public starts to recognize your business by your brand, which is your logo, your brand name, your designs, and everything that goes into your branding. As you grow your business, obviously you want the public and your shoppers to remember the name of your company so that they can come back and shop again and spread the word, and that's how your business grows. The unfortunate part about selling on a marketplace like Etsy is that most people will remember Etsy over your brand name. So when they're sharing with their friends, they might say something like, "Oh yeah, I got this on Etsy," instead of saying something like, "Oh yeah, I got this from East Coast Oil Co." It's usually harder to build brand recognition for your brand when selling on a marketplace like Etsy as opposed to selling on your own standalone website because the buyer doesn't have that marketplace name to fall back on. There are things you can do to combat this, and what I'm talking about is branding everything you can. So having your logo and your shop banner branded with your company name, having your banner and your company name on your packing slip, having branded packaging and shipping supplies with your company name and your logo on them, including pack-ins if you're sending a physical product, flyers and cards inside the package that have your branding on them, making sure your branding is consistent all across your social media platforms and your email marketing, and also thinking about the wording you're using in your messages. Instead of saying something generic like "thanks for purchasing," making it more specific to your company and saying "thanks for purchasing from East Coast Oil Co." So there are some things that you can do to help yourself gain that brand recognition even when selling on a marketplace. So all in all, if you want my personal opinion, is Etsy perfect? No. But is it still a great place for beginners to start selling online? Absolutely. I do still think the benefits of selling on Etsy outweigh the not so fun parts of it. Like I mentioned before, there are ways to be smart and work through the challenges of the Etsy platform and still run a crazy successful business. So I hope this gave you some perspective and some insight to help you decide whether or not Etsy is the right fit for you. Don't forget to try out Taylor Brands using the link below and enter the code KateHayes30 for 30% off. I'm also going to link the video I mentioned before all about breaking through a saturated market on Etsy. If you're interested for tips on that, you can click or tap the square on the screen right now and it'll take you right over to watch that video. See you next time, friends.